In Barcelona, Formula One returned to a familiar but always challenging circuit. The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya is not just a racetrack, it's a proving ground. For over a decade, teams have used its sweeping corners and technical layout to test their cars' true limits. But this time, what unfolded wasn't just a typical race weekend. It became something far more dramatic, especially for Ferrari and their most high-profile driver, Lewis Hamilton. Standing on the concrete pit wall during one of the practice sessions, former world champion Nico Rosberg observed everything with a sharp eye. Wearing his headset tightly and staring at the scarlet Ferrari sliding through corners, Rosberg couldn't hide his concern. It was the same track where 9 years ago he and Hamilton famously collided as Mercedes teammates. But now the scene was very different. Hamilton wasn't fighting another driver, he was battling his own car. The Ferrari SF25 looked wild, unpredictable, like it was skating on ice with every corner. Rosberg, speaking calmly into the broadcast microphone, said just 5 simple words. "That car is truly vicious." Those words echoed instantly around the world. Fans at home listening to the broadcast perked up, and social media erupted. Could the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton really be stuck with one of the most difficult cars on the grid? It was a surprising thought, but Rosberg's tone was telling. It wasn't sarcastic or mocking, it was worried. After all, Rosberg knew firsthand how a bad car could slowly drain a driver's confidence. He had lived through that pressure. He knew how it felt to wrestle with a machine that didn't respond, that fought back in every corner. As he continued to analyze Hamilton's lap, Rosberg pointed out every correction Lewis had to make, every steering adjustment, every snap of oversteer. Through turn 7, a fast, downhill left-hander, Hamilton made 3 separate steering inputs just to keep the car on the track. "How you cannot chase a title like this," Rosberg said, shaking his head. And he was right. The data confirmed it. Free practice 2 brought disappointing news for Ferrari. Hamilton ended the session 11th on the timing screens, an entire 1.4 seconds behind Max Verstappen's Red Bull. In the tightly packed world of modern Formula One, that gap isn't just big, it's a canyon. Charles Leclerc, driving the sister car, wasn't doing much better. He ended up in 9th. This wasn't a driver problem, it was a car problem. Inside the Ferrari garage, engineers stared at telemetry data flashing in red. Brake discs had reached a blistering 900 degrees. The rear tires overheated to 46 degrees after just one push lap. That meant loss of grip almost instantly. Hamilton's radio message told the story perfectly. Front slides, rear snaps, no flow at all. The car was out of sync. There was no balance, no predictability. Every graph, every sensor readout, bled lap time. Onlookers in the grandstands, many of them excited to see Hamilton in Ferrari red, were instead watching him struggle to keep the car pointed in a straight line. It was painful to watch. Rosberg's analysis spread like wildfire across social media. Fans shared screenshots of Hamilton's onboard footage. On commentary, Rosberg calmly narrated Hamilton's inputs. "Count the steering moves," he said. 1, 2, 3, and the corner's not even finished yet." It was clear. Hamilton wasn't racing, he was surviving. Many wondered whether Rosberg was enjoying Hamilton's troubles, but the truth is he wasn't. His voice was calm, even sympathetic, because he knew exactly what Hamilton was going through. He had lived it. Especially in turn 7, the same corner that exposed so many of Ferrari's flaws. Rosberg noticed how often the car slid, how unsettled it was. He compared Hamilton's effort to riding a bucking bronco, and once again repeated, "You cannot win titles like that." For Ferrari, those words stung. When a former world champion publicly calls your car one of the worst on the grid, the paddock takes notice. Journalists rushed toward Ferrari's hospitality suite, trying to find answers. But the team remained tight-lipped, speaking only in rehearsed phrases about gathering data. Behind the forced smiles, though, there was tension. Other teams quietly studied Ferrari's problems. Engineers from rival outfits looked at the shaky onboard footage and whispered that their own cars felt tame by comparison. Could it really be this bad? The replays said yes. In slow motion, every viewer could see Hamilton's struggle. His hands flicked back and forth on the steering wheel like he was playing drums. Through turn 5, a downhill left-hander, the rear of the car slid so badly that Hamilton had to accelerate to pull it back in line, something no driver wants to do mid-corner. The tire marks told their own story, dark, wavy lines that showed where the rear lost grip. The sensors confirmed it. The rear tires were overheating in just 2 laps, killing traction. At turn 9, a fast right-hander, the car lost suction from the floor mid-corner, forcing Hamilton to shift up early and give up speed to avoid spinning. It cost him 3/10 on the straight. Small clouds of dust stuck to the barge boards after. The car ran off track slightly, almost hitting the gravel. Inside the garage, engineers watched as the data went crazy. Spikes in the gyrographs showing every unexpected yaw, every slide that cost time. For many observers, this was the most uncomfortable they had ever seen Lewis Hamilton in a car. He wasn't chasing lap records. He was just trying to stay on track. The heart of the problem, according to engineers, lies beneath the car. Ferrari's new floor concept, nicknamed Boomerang, uses 2 S-shaped tunnels under the chassis to direct air toward the diffuser. The design works, but only in perfect conditions. In the wind tunnel, it was flawless. On the real track with bumps and wind gusts, it became unpredictable. The floor requires the ride height to stay within a narrow 2 mm range to maintain downforce. But every time that balance is lost, the car's grip disappears in an instant. It didn't help that Ferrari had also shaved off weight by thinning the rear suspension's metal. Under load, this caused flex, adding yet more instability. The result was a car that behaved like it had 2 personalities, sometimes stable, sometimes wild. And the drivers never knew which version they'd get in the next corner. A mechanic even joked that the floor is a trapdoor, stable until the moment it drops. For Hamilton, every lap was a gamble. The car could feel great one moment and terrifying the next. Despite all this, Hamilton remained calm. After the session, he removed his helmet, sweat dripping from his brow, sand clinging to the tires. Reporters rushed to him, expecting emotion, but Hamilton kept his voice steady. He spoke with focus, not frustration. Inside the debriefing room, he asked for detailed maps of his errors, logs of wind gusts and charts of brake temperatures. It wasn't a normal discussion. It felt more like a forensic investigation. He even booked a late-night simulator session with reserve driver Antonio Fuoco. Together, they planned to test every setup variation, ride height, spring rates, damper curves, until they found something that worked. Hamilton reminded the team that in 2012, he took an unstable McLaren and still won races. "Give me a stable base," he said, "and I will find the time." Still, the pressure was visible. Team members noticed the tightness in his jaw, the long blinks between sentences, small signs of mental strain that even Hamilton couldn't completely hide. While Hamilton and the engineers chased solutions, things grew tense behind closed doors. Team principal Fred Vasseur wanted to revert to an older floor, which had already been shipped to Canada. But technical director Enrico Cardile argued against it. Scrapping the Boomerang concept would waste months of work and risk blowing through the cost cap. Meanwhile, Aero Chief Diego Tondi presented 3 slides, showing that the new floor had been perfect in Bahrain, shaky in Jeddah, and disastrous in Spain. Marketing teams feared the optics. Finance teams feared the prize money losses. After 2 hours of debate, they compromised. Ferrari would keep the new floor for Saturday, but raise the ride height by 2 mm and stiffen the anti-roll bars. The old floor would be on standby, ready to be reinstalled if needed. That night, the garage stayed open past midnight. Mechanics scrambled to find spare parts. Software engineers updated simulation files. An envoy from the Agnelli family, Ferrari's powerful backers, showed up to monitor the situation, only saying, "Make it quick and safe." By 2 a.m., the car had been adjusted. The team shifted 2 kilograms of ballast to the nose, softened brake maps, and added a new diffuser edge, believed to give 50 kilos more downforce in medium-speed corners. Engineers taped bright arrows on the new parts so they could spot any cracks on the outlap. And before leaving, one veteran softly patted the nose cone and whispered, "Be kind tomorrow." Ferrari has a history of painful mistakes and glorious comebacks. In 2018, a floor change ruined a title run. In 2020, a new engine left them powerless for an entire year. In 2022, the new ground effect rules created bouncing so severe that drivers complained of blurred vision. Now, with the season moving fast, Canada, Austria, Silverstone all ahead, Barcelona may be the turning point. Either the boomerang floor gets tamed, or Ferrari risks losing another season